This is Into the Singleverse with Raj Verma. Unfiltered conversations about the latest trends and the tangible effects of real-time data on pivotal industries, our daily lives, and the future of our world.
Welcome back to my discussion with Pádraig Harrington. We've been talking about his passion for excellence and his Hall of Fame career that includes 3 major championships. Now, Pádraig, I'd like to get into the intersection of golf and technology. You often talk about the amount of data that is available to players to help them improve their game. I remember you saying that high-tech 20 years ago was bringing a video camera to the range, and now we probably have 1,500 metrics you can use. What's your take on the current state of data in golf?
It's obviously positive, but it's overwhelming. So when I started off, like if you went back to the 80s, like if somebody had a video camera in Ireland, that was a huge deal. And you videoed and you took the tape and you went home and watched it. So, you know, it was at best 24-hour feedback type thing. Whereas now, we're getting all this data, and it's a lot of data. And the problem is players are getting confused. It's just a lot coming at you. What's important, what's not important. And it's difficult to decipher. You need the experts. You need somebody in each lane really to okay, this is what's important. This is what we're seeing. But from my golfing perspective, and this is quite interesting, it's actually the feedback loop is the most important thing. And it has to be, if you want to learn, the quicker you want to learn, it's instantaneous. So if you have an instantaneous feedback loop, you really can change something very quickly and easily. So it takes a lot less effort. So the old feedback loop was a coach saying, do this. That was good, and the coach would be right, but you couldn't actually see it. And your feeling and what's real is often never the same. Then you move to video. Video is 2D. Now we move to 3D, which is a bit of an ordeal. You put a suit on, and obviously the future is wearables that will give feedback. But if I was to say to you, and you said with your 6-year-old kid, he's a bit young for this, but you know, if I was saying to anybody out there who had like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, early teenager, if you gave them, you can buy a launch monitor. There's a PRGR launch monitor for about $200 to $230. So, you know, cheaper than a golf club. And it gives speed and ball speed. It gives club head speed and ball speed. You put that in front of a kid, he'll figure it out. You would need to say nothing to him. He'll look at the data. Oh, if I swing like this, it goes slower. If I swing like this, it goes faster. Oh, this one's really fast. All kids need is a feedback loop. And to be honest, in life, all we need is that feedback loop. And the quicker we get it, the more instantaneous we can go and go, okay, that's not enough. I need to do more. Oh, right, that's too much. So it really has come down to that. So it's good in golf, but it's so new and there's so much noise that we still need either you basically you need the professionals still to be there to help you work your way through it. We have TrackMan, and by the way, it's a lot of gambling has driven this. So there's a lot of data becoming because people are playing fantasy sports. You know that what you call it in America, you call it fantasy sports, but it's actually gambling. And yeah, and they need the information in real time to figure out what's happening, and that information we're getting. So I can go in after my round, and every shot I can look at, and I can tell that wedge I hit to 18 feet actually cost me 0.02 of a shot against the field. And that 6-iron that I hit to 25 feet out of rough, I actually gained a whole 0.3 of a shot for that shot. Every shot I can look at and tell how I've done relative to the field. But some of that then becomes overwhelming. So you really do need the people the experts to figure out, okay, this is what you need to focus on. Like 2 years ago, we get them analyzed. I had a guy analyze it, and something I didn't know. Every shot I hit from 50 yards to 100 yards on the tour, I hit every one of them left of the pin. I never hit one shot from that range right of the pin, ever, in the whole year. That's remarkable. Not once did I hit it right of the pin. So it was a bit late. They told me after the year. Maybe I could have done with knowing it during the year. But this is what the stats guys are doing now. They're actually analysing individual players' games. They will actually say, we've looked at your data, and instead of aiming your 9-iron at the flag, you should aim your 9-iron 3 yards right of the flag, because your miss tends to be this area, and that's where you should aim. And you're always coming up 2 yards short, so you should try and aim 2 yards past the flag. Things like that. But again, it is a lot of data. We need that feedback loop, and it's only we're just a little early at this stage. It will get where we're going to have actual, which you amateurs do. You'll have actual monitors in the club, and that feedback loop will be going all the time. And when you finish the round, immediately you'll know exactly what you need to work on that range, and that will mean you can go in a shorter, less haphazard way, get your work done, and leave. And surprisingly, golf is probably one of the most time-consuming sports ever, in the sense of a working week for me could be 70 hours, could be 80 hours, ridiculous stuff. As in, because it's low intensity, I might spend 2 hours, like I might spend an hour in the gym before I go, an hour and a half in my warm-up, 5.5 hours on the golf course. I might practice for 2-3 hours afterwards. I might go for physio for an hour, and I might go to the gym. You can see how that all adds up by the end of the week, because there's like 6 or 7 disciplines in golf. It all adds up. There's a lot of practice to be done. So the biggest key for players is to actually go, this is the area that you will get the most value for practice from. Focus on that, and then gives you more time to do the rest, the physio and the gym stuff. So it's definitely, data has helped an awful lot, but we're still very raw. There's still a lot of noise in it, and we're going to tidy it. I'd say there will be advances coming. We'll be tidied up, and as I said, what actually happens, Raj, is it's people like you. You're in a technology business, and you're sorting out the data for big companies all the way through, and then all of a sudden you go, I like golf, I enjoy golf, and you turn your attention to golf and say, well, if I do a little bit of this, it will work. So what tends to happen is a lot of businesses, for business people, will come into golf just purely for, or sport, all sports, a little bit more for the, I enjoy sport and I want to do this, rather than necessarily from a competitive business sense of the reasons.
No, absolutely. And I think my wife is going to agree with you that golf is a very time-consuming sport, so for sure. And
Yes.
that you've been very generous with your advice and your time. As we are coming up to our time, just a couple of questions that I have been intrigued about. And by the way, I completely agree about data and real-time feedback. And this will seem choreographed, but that's exactly what our value proposition as Single Store is as well, for enterprises to be able to give real-time feedback and help them improve their response times, right?
I as just a normal person looking at the world and seeing all this, it's amazing how much every business has been told, gather data. But what do you do with it when you have it? Everything, oh look, this company's worth so much because they have all this data. But data is not, it's useless unless you can figure out how to collate it, analyze it. And which is a little bit of the single source side, the niche side of it, is how quick can you do it? There's no point in having this information, even in your world, there's no point in having the information a day late. The markets have gone. The business is gone. The contract's gone. If it's a week late, and years ago, things were slower. You could wait for the accounts of a company to come out and you could start figuring things out, and 3 months, 6 months later. But now it's, things are moving so quickly, it's tough. It is tough out there on businesses that there is that much pressure. But as I said, you're there to solve that problem. That's the beauty of it.
In fact, I was talking about me being in my line of business for a few decades now. We started with, as you said, days and weeks and the life of perishable data. Now we are talking to companies, Pádraig, where we are talking seconds and milliseconds in terms of response time. So it's going to get extremely, extremely interesting. But anyway, for our listeners, they're here to listen to you more than to me. I'll get into one question, which is very close to your heart. I know is just how do you get? And I think you answered a bit of that in the initial part of this conversation. Golf, a sport that I love, a sport that you loved. I find it very difficult to get my teenage kids into it because they want to go play water polo or American football or basketball or whatever team sport it is. And they, for the reasons that you rightly suggested, it can be a very lonely sport. It can be a mentally jarring sport. And what's some of the advice, both for the game of golf and its current format, or just life advice to get kids into this sport for the long term?
Yeah, you're right there. Golf is traditionally attracted, especially American golf, has attracted the kid who didn't play team sports. Maybe the kid who is a little bit withdrawn, a little bit into what, not a loner, but, just that quiet kid. If you, like you're saying with your kids or any teenagers who want to play team sports, the key to getting them into golf is their friends. When there's a group of them, they'll hang out with their friends at the golf club and have fun, and they'll play their whole summers. But it has to be a group thing. So I know with my own kids, there's a lot of pressure on them if they go playing golf because they're being judged. And, they play rugby and they play other sports and they love doing that. And golf is, obviously I need them to be of a set standard because when they're 30 years of age, they're going to play somewhere, they're going to play in an outing. And, 10 people are going to stand in that tee box watching them and judging them because they're my son. So they have to be able to play at some level. So I've always encouraged when the kids come or like when I'm around their friends, I try and make sure I get their friends interested in golf and get them, give them a golf lesson. And all of a sudden my kid will go, oh, well, I want to be better than them. So they'll make a little effort at it. They'll show off. So it's very much, if you're wanting to get your kids involved, obviously young kids will follow what their parents are doing. So that's easier. But the teenage kids will actually want to do the opposite. I would go, you know what, put them in an environment where they're with friends, where they're hanging out. And again, don't be thinking that they got to go and play 18 holes, and don't be thinking they got to go and practice. If they go up to the club and they're hanging out in that environment, even if they've got a summer job with the cart barn or something like that, if they're hanging out there, they'll see other kids playing golf, and then they'll want to beat them. That's just natural, or they want to play along. So it's the environment you're looking for, not pushing a kid along to play golf. As I said, they wish they did it when they're 25 years of age, but when they're teenagers, that's not the way life works. So it's a nice environment where they feel relaxed. And again, not too stuffy. There can't be rules, and they can't have to do. I wouldn't need, like, if it was me, I would say to most kids, 10, 15 minutes on the range at most, and go play golf. Even don't bother going to the range, just go play. It's not about practice, because every kid, they all come to a similar physicality by the time they get to 20, 21 years of age. So it's not that important. If your kid he doesn't need to spend time on a range. Just needs to be out there enjoying it. And if he loves it, he'll figure it out. And as I said, even if a kid starts late, they all catch up. Everybody at 21 years of age is of similar physicality. The difference is how good they are competitively, mentally, and that really does come from a genuine love, obsession for the game.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. All right, so why don't we, in the last few minutes that we have with you, Pádraig, just a little bit of a rapid fire, if you would humor me. All right.
Quick questions, but they might be slow answers.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely a treat. Now, this might be a longer answer, but I remember when I started golfing 30 years ago, the equipment just was very different. And now with the lengthening of the courses, etc., do you think that golf is going in the direction of 7,000 plus yard courses with the new equipment, or do you think we'll come back to the future, so as to speak?
Yeah, no, I actually, the golf course is lengthened because of the equipment and more athletes. Again, 30 years ago, the person who played golf was likely not to be a reject from other sports. Certainly in America. In Europe, not necessarily the case, but it was likely you didn't make the football team, you didn't make the baseball team, you didn't make the athletics team. Okay, you can go play golf. Nowadays, the number one kid in the school is choosing to play golf. So they're better athletes, but I know we talked about the information loop, the feedback, the coaching. Like you could live in anywhere in the world, you know, and have access on YouTube. My Paddy's Golf Tips on YouTube. You can go in there and you can learn about golf without ever seeing a coach. So you can become a physically good golfer anywhere in the world, get the best coaching, have a feedback loop, have a monitor. So players have just got better, and they've lengthened the equipment has got better to go with it, but players are using that equipment to their right to the limit. The golf courses are getting tougher because of that. Ideally, and there's quite a talk about it at the moment, they're talking about bifurcation in golf. I don't agree with bifurcation. I don't want the rules to be separated from amateurs to pros. That's a great thing about golf. I would like the equipment rolled back. I think that it's better for the game. I think it would speed the game up. It's better for the cost of the building golf courses, for maintaining golf courses. There's a lot of advantages to rolling back, but I would be prepared for a very hard stop. It shouldn't get. It definitely doesn't need to advance. We can't go any further. The golf course, it's just getting out of hand. But a hard stop wouldn't be the end of the world either. So if they just said, right, we're drawing a line, and they'd like to draw a line, but they struggle to do that because the manufacturers, they invest so much money. The athletes are getting better that they work around the system. But yeah, a rollback certainly would help. And look, just for speed of play, originally the game of golf, you finished on the green and you teed off the back of the green, off the fringe. That was the original game. You only walked in a circle. Nowadays, you get to the green and you have to go back to the tee and forward. It's okay in a cart. It's okay in the US where the courses are bigger, there's more room. But you go to the courses in Dublin, where I'm from, all the holes are too short. The dog legs are in the wrong place and they can't expand because, there's, houses around them and things like that. So it's roads are around them. So yeah, a rollback would be good, but not bifurcation. No, I think we need to stick with the same rules for amateurs and pros.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do think there is some joy for us recreational golfers of being able to drive the ball as long as we now do, and so that there is a joy. And I understand.
I think the joy for amateurs is, for one moment in time, you can hit a golf shot that's better than the best pro at that moment. You clearly you can't do it all the time or consistently, but for one moment you could hole out in a par 3 and have a hole in one, and you could have a whole pro tournament that they wouldn't have a hole in one. So for that one moment, you can hold a long putt, you can hit a sweet shot, and you're using the same equipment. You can buy my equipment. You can go into a pro shop and buy what I use. It's not special. It's exactly what they're. So that is a good thing. You can use my equipment and you can compare yourself to the pros. I'd only do it for one moment in time. Don't compare yourself for a couple of shots.
Just for your own mental health, I suppose, right?
Yeah, just pick the good shot.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's your favorite course in the world, Paddy?
Oh, Royal Portrush, Portmarnock in Ireland, 2 links golf courses. US, I think my favorite competitive course is Augusta. I love Riviera. If I was going to choose a golf course for me to enjoy life on, I would pick Adair Manor in Ireland. And there's a reason for that. It's everything that goes with it. I think it's voted #1 resort in the world. Beautiful golf course, beautiful condition, great fun, but the manor itself and the food and everything about it is fantastic. So much so that if I say to my wife, I'm going playing golf, she's kind of going, oh, okay. And if I go, I'm going to play golf at Adair, she'll go, I'm coming. So that's the sort of resort it is. So I would enjoy my golf every day because it changes. I think I'd enjoy my golf every day at Augusta because it changes. I think I'd enjoy my golf every day in a links golf course because you get a lot of changing conditions. So I think for a golfer, we're looking for variety and good condition. Remember this with a golf course. If your golf course, doesn't matter how good your golf course is, if it's in bad condition, people will not enjoy it. If you've an average golf course in great condition, people will love it. So the condition of the golf course, I think, determines a lot about how much people enjoy it.
One question marrying the equipment in Augusta. I was listening to some analysts talking about the fact that, remember 2 or 3 years ago, DeChambeau said it's a par 68 for him and just completely fell on his face. And they did say that Augusta, which favors a bit of a draw, because of the 460 cc drivers that you have, most of the pros are having now, that actually limits the ability to have the sort of draw that they could get with previous clubs. Is there truth in that? I just wanted to ask someone who can opine on that.
Yeah, I think if you naturally draw the ball, Augusta is better. But really what Augusta suits is a good driver of the ball. So yes, if you can draw it, great. If you hit it straight, you're fine. And if you're a good fader of the ball and you hit it well, also you will do just fine on the golf course. So what's happened is, and this is what we've learned over the years, people thought they needed to change to a draw. But if you're not a good drawer of the ball, if you have to change your swing for that, you're better off sticking to what you know and be good at it. So that was the mistake players made. Yes, it suits a draw if it's a naturally you're a good drawer of the ball, but it's not a necessity. You're better off sticking with, again, going back to my own experience, you're better off being very good and comfortable at what you do to get the most out of your game rather than trying to do something different, extra that you're not comfortable with. But for somebody like Rory McIlroy who hits a draw, it's hard to believe he hasn't won there. It really, really is a ball striking golf course. You've got to drive it great because if you miss those fairways, you can't hit the greens.
Well, it's that mental thing that you talk about, right? 2011 Masters when Rory had a bad round.
But he won his majors after that. I don't know. I think you're right that he needed to win a Masters quickly. You know, in his when he was really in his pomp back then, 2012, 13. Now it's just become a little bit of a anchor there that's holding him back.
And I was amazed. A big fan of Rory and all the rest. And for all the shots that he's hit in his life, he said that the hole in that he had on the 18th green on the final day of the Masters to finish second was the best shot of his, or the shot that made him feel the best it has felt in his career. I think was a testimony of the fact of how much he wants to dominate day 4, back 9, I think golf has this strange phenomenon in golf. The most recent history is what we tend to think is the best, or is the nicest part. So if I 3-putt the last to shoot 69 tomorrow, okay, I'll be sitting having lunch and I'll be depressed. I'll be sitting there grumpy as hell. I cannot believe I messed up the last. Yeah. If I birdie the last to shoot 70, I'll be sitting there having lunch and I'll be happy. That does not make logical sense. Just doesn't at all. In the end, like how can I feel better about 70 than 69? And yet the way it happens, what happened in our immediate past is what tends to determine how we feel about things. And I think that's a lot about life as well. Our circumstances, as we move, some people could be in worse circumstances, but once they get used to it or you can look on the bright side of anything. You can be an optimist about anything. So it really is that moment in time that determines a lot about how we feel about things and how things are going. So golf is very, very much like life in that sense, that we tend to look at the last moment and extrapolate a lot from the last moment and don't see the bigger picture. Excellent. Who's the funniest golfer you've played a round with?
Who's the funniest golfer? God, I could tell you the ones we don't like to play with are the ones who talk about their golf. So you never want to play with a golfer. So if I was playing with you and I was trying to put you off, and say you're putting well, I might casually say, I can't believe how quick the greens are today. So then the next time you're standing over a putt, you're in your head, "Oh, I thought the greens were good. I didn't realize they're quick. Or are they quick? Is this going to be fast?" So if you want to put somebody off, you complicate their thinking. You add stuff in and they get distracted and they start jumbling. So we don't want people who describe what they're doing. So if I'm putting and two of us have to put down the same line and the guy in front of me hits it and he turns to his caddy and says, "Oh, the hole is crowned, the ball moved more than I thought," or I don't want to hear his running commentary. So it's easier to tell the bad guys. I'm probably not going to name them, but we don't want talkers. Who are the best guys? I played my best golf. I won tournaments playing with Bernard Langer. I won tournaments with Stuart Singh. I like talkers. But who's funny? I don't know who's funny. Maybe I'm not I'm not going to go out as the guy who can tell all the jokes or anything like that. But, definitely people who talk, and when I say talk, we gossip. We talk about what's happening. We talk about the rules, but we never ever discuss the actual golf. And you don't come in after a round of golf and tell anybody about your woes. Nobody wants to listen about your 3-putt on 18. You come in, if there was a funny ruling, we talk about it. If something like that controversial happened, we talk about it. But outside of that, we don't talk as much golf as you think.
All right. Who do you think has the best swing in golf, apart from yours, of course?
Ooh. Two best ball strikers, Tiger Woods and Charles Schwartzel was really special when he was playing. When he won the Masters, he really put a strike in it. And we can tell a strike. What we call a strike is when it's a heavy hit. You can feel it, and you can hear the sound of it. So there's guys who've got pretty swings who are fast, but they're not hitting the middle of the club like Tiger really put some pressure on it. And Charles Schwartzel was very impressive when he was absolutely on his pump. Rory as well off the tee is exceptional. I probably Cameron Champ has a lot of speed and power with a swing that looks smooth. So the best golf swing are swings that look smooth but are very powerful and fast.
Okay, last question. Best putter in the game of golf?
Best putter was no doubt. I think Luke Donald for a period of time. For a sustained period of time, Tiger. But Luke Donald definitely, when he was world number one, he was the best, and he's still a really good putter. But he was very, very special. I could go all the way back. I remember there was a lad when I played as an amateur kid, and he went from one year having 44 putts around at least to the following year. I don't think he ever missed a putt from inside 10 feet in a whole year. And all he did was the whole winter, he just spent the whole winter practicing on a carpet. And it wasn't that he had a perfect putting stroke, but he just believed. And so you can actually change it around in 3 months. He went from being the worst ever to the best ever in a 3-month period. And I've never seen anything like it. But again, he did play on tour, but it wasn't sustainable like Luke Donald or Tiger.
I remember the one tip that you have given me for putting, which has actually improved my putting tremendously, is to focus on that blade of grass when you're putting, the blade of grass between your putter and the ball. It's been a tremendous help. So thank you, Paddy.
When it comes to all the psychology of golf, and particularly putting, you've got to pick one thing to do and keep doing it over and over. It's the familiarity of something that you're always going back to that settles the mind down. So in Raj's case, I get him to look at a blade of grass between the ball and the putter head and just put away. And it's just the constant, what am I doing? Oh, this is what I'm doing. It's having that to go back to. I know I've had the yips, and it really, what cures it is doing the same thing over and over. Whether you hold the putt or miss the putt, what are you going to do? This is what I do. Pick anything you like. Looking at the blade of grass is good. As I said, it's on Paddy's Golf Tips anyway. If you're looking for more explanations of this, I put it all up on YouTube, Paddy's Golf Tips, and you will find it in there. But it's about familiarity. That's what makes you handle pressure the best.
Pádraig, thanks for your insight, my friend. Thanks for your friendship, and thanks for being such a role model for us and our kids. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend time with you, and I wish you continued success.
Thanks, Raj. I really did enjoy it. I always like talking.
You did a great job. And that's it for this episode of Into the Singleverse. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to automatically receive future episodes. Additionally, I would greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a review, helping others like you discover the show. I'll see you next time. Stay well and be good.
This was Into the Singleverse with Raj Verma. If you want to learn how to unleash the immense power of data, go to singlestore.com. Into the Singleverse is a production of Forbes Books.